The countdown had begun. The laughter around me, the clinking of champagne glasses, and the dim glow of string lights set the stage for what was supposed to be the perfect New Year's Eve. I had planned everything down to the smallest detail. It was going to be legendary. No one would forget this night. As I watched Michael in the corner of the room, talking to my cousin, I felt a surge of excitement. He had no idea what was coming. The prank I had planned was the kind of thing that would go viral, the kind of thing people would talk about for years. It was all for fun, right? I wanted to make this night unforgettable. We'd been together for a year now, and though we had our differences, Michael was always the serious one in our relationship. While I loved joking around, pulling pranks, and keeping things light, Michael was grounded. He didn't share my love for mischief, but tonight, I was going to show him that I could make even a prank something special. Something that would make us laugh. Everything set, my best friend Emma asked, sliding into the kitchen beside me. I nodded, a grin spreading across my face. You have the fake ring? I whispered, making sure no one else could overhear. Yep, everything's ready, she replied, her eyes twinkling with excitement. This is going to be epic. I couldn't help but feel a surge of confidence. This was it. The prank would work. It had to. There was no way Michael could resist the over-the-top proposal setup I'd arranged. A few actors dressed up as fancy guests, a staged surprise gift, and hidden cameras all around the living room. He would never see it coming. I took a deep breath. The moment was almost here. Michael was starting to get impatient, glancing around as if he knew something was off. He had always been perceptive like that. But I wasn't worried. The prank was foolproof. I walked over to him, the lights flickering as I made my way through the crowd. He gave me a half-smile when I approached. You ready for midnight? He asked, his tone light, but I could hear the edge of unease in his voice. Almost, I said, trying to mask the nerves that were bubbling inside me. I just need a moment. It's going to be perfect, trust me. He raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical but too polite to say anything. Okay, Anna. If you say so. The clock ticked closer to midnight, and I felt my heart race. Everyone gathered around, drinks in hand, waiting for the big moment. The music shifted to a slow, romantic tune. I could see Michael scanning the room, clearly unsure about something, but then his eyes locked with mine. All right, everyone, I announced, standing on a chair and raising my glass. Get ready for the surprise of the year. With a quick signal to Emma, I started the prank. The first actor stepped forward, handing Michael a small box, pretending it was a New Year's gift. He looked confused but intrigued. The actor kneeled in front of him, holding out the box. I could already see Michael's discomfort. This wasn't the kind of thing he liked, and I knew that. But I wasn't prepared for what happened next. Michael's eyes flickered between the box and the room full of people watching, some of them with cameras. His face went pale, his jaw tightening. The uncomfortable silence in the room was thick, and I could feel my chest tighten as I realized something was off. Michael, it's just a joke, I said, trying to diffuse the tension. It's a prank, honey. It's not real. We're just messing with you. He didn't laugh. Instead, his expression darkened, and he slowly stood up, pushing the actor away. This is a joke? His voice was cold, the calmness unnerving. You think this is funny? My heart sank as I watched his face twist in anger, the humor completely gone from his eyes. It's just a prank, Michael. Come on, don't overreact, I said, my voice faltering. I'm not overreacting, he shot back, taking a step back. You've been doing this for months now, pulling pranks on everyone, always trying to get attention. You think it's all just for fun, but you never think about how it makes others feel. I froze, my blood running cold. His words hit harder than I expected. I hadn't thought about it that way. To me, it was always about making everyone laugh, keeping things light, but for Michael, it was different. I don't need to be the butt of your joke tonight, Anna. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. He turned on his heel, heading for the door. Michael, wait! I called out, scrambling to follow him. My feet felt heavy as I reached the door just in time to see him step outside, slamming it behind him. I stood there, stunned, unable to move. My mind raced, but I couldn't understand what had just happened. This was not how the night was supposed to go. This wasn't supposed to be a moment of anger. It was supposed to be a laugh, a memory we'd joke about in years to come. I'd gone too far, but I couldn't take it back. The party continued inside, but it felt distant, like I wasn't even there anymore. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I glanced at the screen. A text from Michael, only 2 words, "We're done." My heart dropped. My hands trembled as I read it again. This was real. He was serious. I collapsed on the couch, the weight of the night crushing down on me. What had I done? Why hadn't I seen it coming? Why hadn't I listened when he said he wasn't comfortable with pranks anymore? The sound of laughter from inside felt like a mockery. I didn't belong there anymore. I had ruined everything, and for what? A viral joke? I reached for my phone, my fingers hesitating over the screen. What was there to say now? How could I undo this? But I already knew there was no turning back. Not tonight. Not after what I had done. I spent the entire next day trying to piece together the events from last night, but no matter how many times I replayed it in my head, it didn't make sense. I had hurt him. And I couldn't figure out why I hadn't seen it coming. Michael wasn't like everyone else I pranked. He wasn't the type to laugh it off. But still, I didn't think he would leave. The house was silent, the clock ticking louder than usual in the empty space around me. I had already texted him twice, but the messages went unanswered. I tried calling him a few times, each attempt ending with nothing but an empty, monotonous beep. He was avoiding me, and I could feel the sting of that rejection in the pit of my stomach. Emma called in the afternoon, and I picked up after the 3rd ring, trying to sound normal, but I knew she could tell something was off. "Anna, what happened last night?" she asked, her voice soft but full of concern. "I messed up," I whispered, my throat tight. "I did something stupid, and now he's gone." "Gone? As in, gone?" she pressed, clearly trying to understand. "Yeah," I replied, sinking into the couch. "He left, Emma. Just like that. He said we were done." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "What the hell, Anna? You didn't tell me things were that bad with him. I thought you were just messing around like you always do." "I didn't think it was that bad either," I said, my voice trembling. "I thought it was just a prank. I thought he'd laugh, and we'd go on like we always do. But he didn't. He was angry, Emma. Really angry. And now he's gone. You have to fix this," she said, her tone firm. "This isn't something you can just brush off. You need to talk to him, figure out what's going on in his head." "I've tried," I said, looking down at my phone again. "But he won't answer. I've sent him texts, I've called him, but nothing. It's like I don't even exist to him anymore. You can't give up, Anna, Emma urged. I know you don't like to admit when you've crossed a line, but you need to own up to this. Michael's hurt, and you need to show him that you get it. I sat quietly for a moment, the weight of her words settling on me. She was right. I had crossed a line, and now I had to face the consequences. I had been so caught up in the excitement of pulling off the perfect prank that I hadn't stopped to think about how it might make him feel. I hadn't thought about his trust, or his boundaries. All I cared about was making something memorable, something that would make everyone else laugh and talk about me. But now, the only thing that was memorable was the look on his face when he walked out. I'll try to talk to him again, I said softly. I'll fix it. Somehow. You'd better, she said before hanging up. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I didn't leave the house, didn't eat much, didn't want to face anyone. My family kept calling to check in, but I couldn't bring myself to explain what had happened. I was embarrassed. They all knew how much Michael meant to me, how much I'd been hoping for a future with him. And now? Now, everything felt broken. As night fell, I knew I couldn't just sit around anymore. I had to make things right. Even if it meant swallowing my pride and admitting that I had made a huge mistake. I grabbed my phone again and stared at his number. My fingers hovered over the screen, unsure of what to say. What could I say to make him understand? How could I explain that I hadn't meant for things to go this far? Finally, I typed a message, Michael, please. I need to talk to you. I know I messed up, and I understand if you're angry. But I can't lose you over something so stupid. Please, let's talk. I hesitated before hitting send. Was this enough? Would he even care? But I pressed the button anyway, hoping that maybe, just maybe, he would hear me out. I waited. And waited. The minutes stretched on like hours, and just when I thought I might go crazy, my phone buzzed with a new notification. A message from Michael. I opened it eagerly, but my heart sank when I saw the words, I don't know if I can do this anymore, Anna. Tears welled up in my eyes as I read those words over and over. I had never felt so helpless. I had never felt more like I had lost something I couldn't get back. I quickly typed a response, my fingers shaking. Please, Michael, I understand how upset you are. But I can't fix this if you don't let me try. I never meant to hurt you. You mean too much to me. Please don't give up on us. There was a long pause before he responded. I held my breath, praying that he would at least give me a chance. Finally, his reply came, I need time, Anna. I'm not sure if I can get past this. I blinked back my tears, a mix of relief and despair flooding me. At least he hadn't shut me out completely. But time? That meant he was still unsure, still hurting, and I didn't know if I could fix it. I didn't know how much time he would need, or if he would ever be able to forgive me. I'll wait, I typed, my hands trembling. Take all the time you need. But I'll be here when you're ready to talk. I stared at the screen, waiting for him to respond. But the next message never came. The screen remained empty, and the buzzing of my phone became just another reminder of how alone I felt. The clock on the wall ticked away the minutes, but it felt like time had stopped altogether. My world had shifted, and I didn't know where it was heading. I had ruined everything. And now, all I could do was wait for the fallout. The next few days felt like a never-ending blur. I woke up with a pit in my stomach, my phone beside me, waiting for a message from Michael that never came. I thought about him constantly, replaying every moment of our relationship in my mind. How had I gotten to this point? How could I have misjudged his boundaries so badly? Each passing day only made the distance between us feel more and more insurmountable. I had spent days waiting for him to reach out, but he hadn't. His silence felt like a betrayal, but I knew deep down that it was my fault. I had been selfish, thinking of my own enjoyment, thinking that a joke would bring us closer when in reality, it had torn us apart. I tried to distract myself, focusing on work, doing everything I could to keep my mind from drifting back to him. But no matter what I did, Michael's face kept popping into my thoughts. I remembered the way his eyes had darkened when he walked out, the hurt and disappointment evident in every step he took. I could still hear the door closing behind him, and it haunted me. On the 5th day, I received a text. It wasn't from Michael, but from his sister, Claire. My heart sank when I saw her name on the screen. We had been friendly when Michael and I were together, but I hadn't heard from her in days. I quickly opened the message, unsure of what to expect. "Hey Anna, I know things are rough right now, but I think you should know something. Michael's been really struggling with what happened. He's hurt, but I can see he still cares about you. He just needs time. Maybe you can try talking to him again?" The message was brief, but it was enough to stir something in me. Claire's words were a small glimmer of hope that I hadn't had in days. Maybe Michael wasn't completely lost to me. Maybe, with enough time and patience, I could fix this. I could show him how sorry I was and how much I cared. But how? How could I undo the damage I had done? I didn't waste any time. I knew I had to see him. The waiting was unbearable, and I couldn't stand the thought of losing him forever. I called Claire to thank her, and she told me where Michael had been staying since leaving. I barely gave it a second thought before I was on my way. The drive felt endless, my mind racing with what I would say to him, how I would apologize, how I could make him understand the depth of my regret. The whole situation felt surreal, like I was watching it unfold from a distance, not really able to control anything. I arrived at his place, a small apartment tucked in a quiet part of town. It was exactly how I remembered it, neat and orderly, with a hint of Michael's personality. The door was ajar, and I could hear soft music playing inside. I hesitated for a moment, taking a deep breath. This was it. No turning back. I knocked gently, trying not to sound desperate, but I was. I was desperate for him to let me in, for him to listen, to give me a chance to make things right. The door opened slowly, and there he was. Michael, standing in front of me, looking as worn out as I felt. His eyes met mine, but he didn't say anything right away. "Can we talk?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated, his expression unreadable. Then, after a long pause, he stepped aside, allowing me in. I entered slowly, the weight of the moment settling heavily between us. We sat down in his living room, the silence stretching out before either of us spoke. It felt like we were both waiting for the other to make the first move. "I'm sorry," I finally said, my voice shaking. "I never meant to hurt you. I thought it would be funny, but I didn't stop to think about how you'd feel. I never thought it would go this far." He stayed quiet, his gaze fixed on the floor, his fingers twitching as if he were unsure of how to respond. I couldn't read him, and that scared me more than anything. "I should have known better," I continued, my heart racing. "I should have known that you wouldn't take it the way I thought you would. I was selfish, Michael. I wanted to be the one everyone laughed at, and I didn't care what it cost. But now I'm paying for it, and I would do anything to take it back." Still, he didn't say anything. My stomach twisted with anxiety. Maybe he had already made up his mind. Maybe this was it. Maybe I had lost him for good. "I'm sorry," I repeated, my voice cracking. I know you're angry, and I deserve that. But I care about you, Michael. I care about you more than anything. And I can't lose you over something so stupid. He finally looked up at me, his eyes tired but soft. Anna, I'm not angry anymore, he said quietly. I was angry at first. Really angry. But now, it's more about disappointment. I trusted you, and you took that trust and used it for a joke. I don't know if I can just forget that. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I know I've messed up, and I know I have a lot to prove to you. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I want to make this right. I want us to be okay again. He looked at me for a long time, and for a moment, I thought he was going to say something that would shatter whatever hope I had left. But instead, he sighed, a deep, tired sound. I don't know, Anna. I need time. But I'm willing to try. I just don't want to go back to how things were before. I need things to be different. I can do that, I said, my voice steady now. I'll do whatever it takes. I promise. He nodded, his expression softening slightly. We'll see, he said quietly. We'll see. The tension that had been building between us for days finally began to loosen, but it wasn't over. There was still a long road ahead of us, and I knew it wouldn't be easy. But for the first time in days, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could make it through this. As I left his apartment that night, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't felt in so long. The future was uncertain, but it was a future that, for the first time in a while, I felt we could face together.